Secretary, Senator Menendez.
Thank you, Mr. President. And members, after listening to my colleagues, it seems to me to be clear that where we want to be in terms of privacy, security for all law-abiding citizens is virtually the same place, whether they be cisgendered or transgendered. But members, I rise in opposition today for 4 very clear-eyed reasons. In my opinion, I believe this bill will place unfairly a target on a vulnerable group of Texans that, in my opinion, is sincerely just against our core values. Second, I think this bill will have economic consequences for the state, some that the city of San Antonio has already started to feel, not some that we're going to have to rely on someone's study, but on the fact that conventions three have already said they were leaving the state. Third, there are already strict laws on the books to protect us in our bathrooms, so I believe this bill is unnecessary. And fourth, this bill usurps local control. And I trust my local school districts, I trust my local cities, I trust my local counties to make the decisions that are best in their areas. You know, I think safety and equality are core values of this state. And I think this bill, unfortunately, targets those. And this is the way it does it. It targets the transgender community by conflating biological sex with gender identity. In doing so, we make the transgender community feel threatened, isolated, and vulnerable. As a legislative body, I know that our goals always should be some of inclusiveness, not exclusiveness. I believe the transgender community has as much a right to feel protected and have privacy as much as anyone else. They shouldn't feel frightened and afraid as much as I feel no one should. You know, we heard in the debate that according to the Department of Justice, 1 out of every 2 transgendered individuals have experienced sexual violence. To force someone who has transitioned to be a female to use the men's restroom because that's the marker on their birth certificate is putting them in mental and actual physical danger. Last Tuesday, we heard story after story of our parents struggling to explain to their daughter or son why the legislature seems to be targeting them. I think we need to trust our parents and our schools to make the best decisions for their safety of their children. You know, it is this same legislature when certain vaccines were going to be made mandatory that we stood up and we said, no, parents have the best decisions, they have the right to do what's best interest of their children. It's this legislation that is going to end up telling our parents and our schools that we as a state know how best to take care of their children. We already know what happened in North Carolina when the NCAA pulled out and the NBA pulled out. I also know that our city's organization that controls the conventions and meetings has already said that 3 have pulled out and an additional 15 have threatened to pull out if this bill becomes law, which would be $40 million in an impact to San Antonio. That's 130,000 tourism jobs in our city alone. And if the Final Four pulls out, that's scheduled to be in San Antonio in 2018, it will cost the city $243 million. The third reason, I believe that our laws are already on the books. We all received a letter, and I hope you received it, from the Chief of Police of San Antonio saying there have been no issues reported in San Antonio with respect to this issue. According to our chief, he has not received any criminal complaints involving sexual assaults in public restrooms, which in my opinion makes it sound, why do we need to pass this unnecessary bill? We already have, and we heard of all the things that are on the penal code, including improper photography that we passed last session. So we don't need this bill. In reference to local control, this would abolish, in some ways, our local non-discrimination ordinances. Since 2013, San Antonio has had a municipal ordinance that values inclusiveness and protects residents from discrimination. In my opinion, this bill would undermine the elected council's will. Additionally, none of my school district superintendents has asked me to pass this bill, and in many private conversations, they don't understand the problem we're trying to solve. They've had this issue for years, and they've made appropriate accommodations, and the sky has not fallen. Many universities have adopted the NCAA's policy regarding transgendered athletes, and yesterday I tried to amend the NCAA's policies to SB6. Without them, this bill would undercut those policies and put future contracts with the NCAA into jeopardy. In conclusion, this bill unfairly targets some of our most vulnerable population in Texas, which is against our core values. The bill has a huge potential cost to the city of San Antonio and the state of Texas. Chief of Police has said he doesn't see what we're actually fixing because he hasn't had a problem. And finally, we are usurping the local control in which some cities and some school districts have already answered this question. So it's for those reasons, members, that I have stood up to state my opposition. And I want to thank